students, how are you all? Welcome to the next session of English, and today we are going to take up one chapter from your reader book. But before I start my chapter, I just want to ask you some of the questions. So are you ready for that? So my first question is, can you tell me what is diversity? You might have done in your social studies diversity. As the name suggests, diversity comes from the word diverse. And what is the meaning of diverse? It is different. Differences on the basis of caste, color, creed, language, religion, region, your color, physical appearance, if you see, all are different. India is a land of so many people, but then everyone is different from one another. Even if we see in a house, then so many family members are there, but then are they same? No two family members you will find same, except for the families in which we have cases of twins. There might be difference in the variation in the colors also. If your color is fair, it is not possible that it is not necessary that your brother's or your sister's color will also be fair. He can be of dark complexion, brown complexion. Similarly, there is difference in the style of speaking the language, the same mother tongue. Then your point of view can be different and your brother or sister's point of view can be different. So this means we are all diverse. But then, can you tell me what this diversity leads to? Yes, this diversity leads to socio-economic inequalities. That is, differences between the rich and the poor, disparity between the whites and the blacks based on color. Then it also leads to social and economic differences, we can say. That is gender biasness between a boy and a girl. There is a difference that we observe in most of the families and especially in villages. Then we also notice casteism. 4 castes we have in India, you might be knowing, and then we start dividing people on the basis of caste. There is also leads to inequalities in various people. For example, the people of lower caste, for example, if I talk of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes who are less in number, they were, if we talk about the older times, at the time of Gandhiji, they were not allowed to enter the temples. They were not having the right of education, and then they were taken as inferior. They were not allowed to roam here and there in the common area where the other class people were allowed to move. So they were restricted to their own area. So these type of differences are there if we see in our Indian society. But then some of the reformers came forward and just fought for these causes. For example, Gandhiji was there who fought for inequality. He called the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe as Harijans. Harijans means people of single one God. So this way he tried to remove these disparities amongst the people. But then there was one city, if we talk, country if we talk about, that is South Africa. They were practicing the system of apartheid. What is apartheid now? Apartheid, if I talk about, it is the system in which you discriminate between people on the basis of color. Like the English people or the white people will not look with the same eye on the people of black color. So there are just so many differences between the white people and black people, and this is known as, these differences between the white and the black due to color is known as apartheid, and it was very much prevalent in South Africa. So it was just considered a evil that time, and Nelson Mandela, he was the person who came first to fight for this disparity between based on color. So today we are going to study about Nelson Mandela. The chapter that I will deal with today is based on a small story, you can say, or a small paragraph from the biography, that is autobiography of Nelson Mandela. So it's a very small chapter, although a complete book is written on Nelson Mandela about his biography, about the works that he has done, about the Nobel Prize he has won, so where did he die, which country he belonged to, what type of life was led by him. So we have a big book based on the autobiography of Nelson Mandela, but then this is a small extract from this autobiography. So today we are going to start with the chapter A Country Childhood. So let's read this chapter. It is very interesting and you will learn so many moral values in this, and you will also come to know the meaning of courage in the last paragraph. So let us study something about Nelson Mandela. So I want you to open your books on page number 31 and please keep on underlining the difficult words. I'll be writing the words as well as the meanings of difficult words, and you can copy it out later on in your fair notebook of reader. So let's start. Nelson Mandela fought the unjust system of apartheid in South Africa. So it was Nelson Mandela who fought for this apartheid system. Apartheid is a system of separating people according to race or color. So he fought for this system in South Africa. After a long struggle, the original inhabitants won the right to rule themselves. So those who were the permanent residents, inhabitants means those who are permanent residents or settlers of that country of South Africa, they were just exploited by the white people. But then ultimately when Nelson Mandela fought for this system of against apartheid, so these inhabitants, these residents, they got the right to rule themselves. They got the liberty to decide the rules for themselves, how they have to live their life without anyone's interference. Nelson Mandela became the first African president of the nation. So he became the first American president of the nation. Now read this excerpt from his biography. So this is a short passage from his biography. Excerpt means small extract, as we have in the poems, the small stanzas are there. So this way, this is a short passage from his biography. Just note down the meanings of inhabitants. Inhabitants. What does it mean? It means permanent settlers. Then we also have the meaning of excerpt. Please note down the spellings correctly. That is short passage. Only a little from his whole biography book is known to us in this chapter. So my mother presided over 3 huts at Kunu. So my stands for whom? My stands for the person here, Nelson Mandela. He is speaking of his life history. So his mother presided over means she managed 3 huts at Kunu. Kunu is a small village in South Africa. So he used to live there with his mother. So they had a different culture. This we will study just now. As I remember, these were always filled with the babies and children of my relatives. So these 3 huts were always filled with the relatives of with the children of his relatives. In fact, I hardly recall any moment as a child when I was alone. So if you have so many children in the house of your relatives, will you feel alone? No. So he was always engaged with so many of the relatives. In African culture, the sons and daughters of one's aunts or uncles are brothers and sisters, not cousins. Just as in India we call our brothers and sisters of our uncles and aunts as cousins. हम अपने चाचा ताई के बच्चों को क्या बोलते हैं? Cousins बोलते हैं. But in African culture, they are not treated as cousins, but they are considered as our own brothers and sisters. We have no half brothers or half sisters or aunts or uncles. So in their tradition, they don't call their relatives as aunts or uncles, but they call them as father and mother and treat their children as their own brothers and sisters. So there is no concept of half brother or half sister, that is cousins. So my mother's sister is my mother. Your mother's sister is what we call in India Masi, but then they call her as their mother. So my uncle's son is my brother. Uncle's son means he is not cousin, he is treated as brother. My brother's child is my son. So your brother's, this means his brother's child, that is आपके चाचा जी का बेटा क्या लगा उनका son, ना कि भतीजा. हम यहाँ पे क्या बोलते हैं चाचा जी के बेटे को? son बोलते हैं, लेकिन but we treat him as our भतीजा, we call it as भतीजा, but then there they treat him as our own son, because uncle, chacha is known as uncle in our tradition, so we don't call him chacha, we call him just like a father. So obviously his son will be our brother, and he will be our son. Of my mother's 3 huts, one was used for cooking. So they had 3 huts at that time. So 3 huts were used for different purposes. Like one was used for cooking, one was used for sleeping, please underline, and one was used for storing. Because if you have such a large family, if so many relatives are there staying with you, then you need large amount of food material. So there should be a place to store all these things required by you daily. So one hut was used for the storage purpose of these things. In the hut in which we slept, there was no furniture in the proper sense. So they were very poor, and there was no furniture like bed we have these days. So they just slept on what? They slept on the mats, and they sat on the floor. So we slept on mats and sat on the ground. I did not discover pillows until much later. So just as we use pillow, so they were not having anything like pillow. So my mother cooked food in a 3-legged iron pot over an open fire in the center of the hut or outside. And mother used to cook food in the what? It is known as 3-legged, you can underline, iron pot. In older times, if you have seen your grandparents cooking food, they used to use what we call in Hindi as angithi, and it is known as what? It is made up of iron pot, and it had 3 legs. In some villages, if you go, you can still find that over there. I can show you, it's there. Just see, it had 3 legs and it is made up of iron. This is angithi that we call, and mother used to cook food on these 3-legged iron pot. Over an open fire in the center of the hut, in the center or even outside, as depending upon the weather. Everything we ate, we grew and made ourselves. So whatever was required for eating, they grew it themselves. They did the cultivation of the crops for themselves, and they also prepared it themselves. So mother used to do all the work for whatever was required for eating. From an early age, I spent most of free time in the veld. Now, what is veld? He said, Nelson Mandela is saying that from very small age, he had spent most of his time in an open veld. What is veld? A veld is an open area, we call it as open grassland, where small shrubs are there, or grass can be grown, and it is a very open type of a field. You can see open grassland in the South Africa is known as veld. Playing and fighting with the other boys of the village. So what was his basic hobby? He used to play and fight with the other boys of the village whole day. At night, I shared my food and blanket with these same boys, and at night time, he used to be friend with the same boys of the village, and he also used to share his food and blanket with those boys of the village. I was no more than 5 when I started looking after sheep and cows in the field. So now see, he was such a hard working boy. He was just 5 years of age, and he had started looking after his animals that they had domesticated in their house. So he looked after the sheep and the calves in his fields. I learned to gather wild honey. So he just used to roam all around in the open fields, in the forest, among the trees, and he used to collect the wild honey, means honey from the jungles. So he used to, please underline all these things, the activities that he used to do. We have one question at the back based on this. So what type of sports was done by Nelson Mandela? You will be asked. Then what he used to do? Collect fruits and edible roots. All these things you find in the forest. Edible means safe to be eaten. There are different types of fruits in the jungle, but then you have to have knowledge which one can be safe to be eaten, which one are poisonous, and which one are not. So you have to have a knowledge of that. So he collected only the edible roots which were safe to be eaten. Just like potatoes, we can say it is a root vegetable. Then sweet potato you can say, beetroot you can say. So all these are edible roots. So edible, I will write down the meaning. That is safe to be eaten. So he used to collect all these things from the jungle. I could swim in the clear cold streams and catch fish with strong thread and sharpened bits of wire. Then what else he used to do? He used to swim. You know, village boys, they are very talented. They used to live near rivers, so he know how to swim, how to catch fish with the help of a big thread. So, and sharpened bits of wire, and he used to attach a wire on that thread and catch the fishes. I also learned to stick fight. Now stick fight, what is it? It's a game played by the boys of the village, fighting with sticks. So it is a game of children. They are fighting simply with the sticks. So that was also learned by Nelson Mandela. I learned to love the world, that is the open grassland, the open spaces, the simple beauties of nature. So this means he loved the nature and he used to live his life fully in the laps of the nature. The clean line of the horizon. So what he loved is clean line of the horizon is a line where the land and the sky seem to meet. So that line can be seen in South Africa, and he loved to see that line where it seems that sky and the land is just meeting each other. So all these things were done by Nelson Mandela in his childhood. That is why we have named the chapter A Country Childhood. How Nelson Mandela spent his childhood in the country of South Africa. So we are studying all these things about his childhood days. As boys, we were mostly left to ourselves. We played with toys that we made ourselves. So then it's not the ready-made toys as we used to play with, but then he used to make his toys by himself, made out of wood, as he was there in the open grasslands, in the jungles. So he made his own toys. He made animals and birds out of clay. So since they were always there in the clay, in the sand, in the mud, so he used to make his toys with the help of the clay also. Many types of animals, the shapes of animals was made by him, and then bird shape was also made by him. We made ox-drawn sledges out of tree branches. Then I have already told you, since he was there in the forest playing with the trees, so out of the branches of the tree he used to make what? Ox-drawn sledges. Now what are sledges? Sledges are the carts without wheels on which you can ride on. So what was that? It was a simple cart, just as you have seen a bullock cart. So it is also drawn with the help of ox, but then it does not have wheels. It was without wheels, but then it was made of the branches of the trees, and he could easily rise on that cart just to have a ride. Nature was a playground. We sat on flat stones and slid down the face of the large rock. So what he used to do? He used to sit on different types, different shapes of the stones were there in South Africa, and he used to sit on the flat stone, and then he used to take a slide down from the large big stone without caring if he is being hurt. We did this until our backsides were so sore we could hardly sit down. So still, just see his courage. He used to do until his backside, means until his back was so sore. Sore means when you start paining, when your hips or your butt start paining and it becomes red. When you continuously sit on one hard surface now, then what happens? Just try to sit on the stone for something, suppose for half an hour or 1 hour, then you will feel a pain in your backside, and the space over there will become reddish in color. So it will be very painful, and they used to do that until that back portion became red, and sore means painful. So I will write down the meaning here. Sore means painful, but then he was very courageous boy. So it gives you a lesson that you should be courageous like Nelson Mandela. I learned to ride atop calves after being thrown to the ground several times. One got the hang of it. Then what he used to do, just as the village boys, if you have seen, they have a habit of riding on top of the calves. Atop means on top of. On top of the calves, and he continued that until they were thrown off. Obviously once or twice so you will fall, only then you will learn the technique how to ride on the cars. So he said one got the hang of it, means until you learn the technique of how to ride on the cars, he continued till then. So ultimately he learned how you can ride on the car. So this means we should go on trying and trying without fearing of the consequences or results. Even in your daily life we learn it that we should not stop trying, we should just keep on trying, and the solution will be ultimately there in our hands. When Nelson Mandela grew up, he became the leader of the African people. He was a loving man who made friends wherever he went. So he was of a very friendly nature. When he grew up, he made lot of friends. He was a loving man. His one-time assistant Jesse Duarte relates these incidents about him. So he had one assistant, that is a helper when he grew up, and his name was Jesse Duarte. He relates these incidents about him. So he relates a story, one of the small incidents from Nelson's life. He was with him one day. He always made his own bed no matter where we traveled. So he states that wherever we went together, he has always seen Nelson Mandela preparing his own bed. How many of you prepare your own bed? It's a very good habit. If you prepare your own bed, you should not rely everything on your mother, because mama has lot of work to do at home. So you should at least do some of the things yourself, as you can just prepare your bed for yourself, then you can fold your bed sheets, then you can arrange for the pillows, keep the water bottle for you and for your family at night. So all these small things you can help along. So he had a habit of always preparing the bed for himself. I remember we were once in China in a luxury hotel. So he remembers, he narrates the incident when they were once in a very luxury, means costly hotel in China. So once they were in China in a very luxurious hotel, and I said to him, please don't make your own bed because it is against the Chinese hospitality. So what does Jesse Duarte says? He says that I requested Nelson Mandela that please you don't have to prepare your bed yourself here in this hotel, because it is against the laws of the Chinese hospitality. Means they are so nice people, they want that every guest who come in their hotel, they will treat them as a kings and queens. They just do the hospitality, means they just treat them in a friendly manner, welcoming behavior towards a guest. We call it as hospitality. So it was against their Chinese hospitality. So it was that they will only come and arrange your bed, so you need not arrange your bed. So at that, what Nelson Mandela's reaction was, let us see. He said, call the ladies who clean the room. So he asked his assistant Jesse Duarte to call all the ladies who come here to clean the room. When they came, he explained to them that he always made his own bed. So when the maids came, Nelson Mandela explained them that he had a habit of making his own bed, so he won't allow these ladies to clean his bed. They should not feel insulted, and he also told them that you should not feel insulted. It is my own wish that I want to make my own bed, and that is why I am requesting you to please excuse me for this. He didn't ever want to hurt people's feelings. So he was very kind, loving natured man. He didn't want to hurt the feelings of the people. Here is an incident told by Richard Stangel, who worked with Mandela on his autobiography. Then he had given a reference to Richard Stangel. Who was he? He worked with Nelson Mandela on his autobiography. When he was writing his autobiography, Nelson Mandela, so this person, Richard Stangel, he was there with this person, Nelson Mandela, to help him write his autobiography. Then he also narrates one incident. It happened on an aeroplane trip in Natal in South Africa. So what happened when they were traveling once in an aeroplane? So it's a scene of an aeroplane. What happened when they were traveling? As soon as Mandela boarded the aeroplane, he picked up a newspaper and read everything in it. So what happens, one day they are traveling, and as usual what we do when we board the aeroplane or the train or the bus, we usually have a habit of reading the newspaper. So the same thing was done by Nelson Mandela. What is boarded? Boarded is when you enter the aeroplane or the bus wherever you travel. and read everything in it. I was sitting right across him and he pointed out of the window. So he says that Richard Stangl, I was sitting just beside him and he just pointed towards the outside of the window and asked me to see outside the window. I saw to my horror that the propeller had stopped working. So what does Nelson Mandela wanted to show him? He wanted to show Richard that the propeller had stopped working. Now what is propeller? Propeller is engine of a aeroplane. So he said that it had stopped working. He said calmly, Richard, would you like to inform the pilot that the propeller isn't working? So he asked his helper, the person Richard, to go and inform the pilot of the aeroplane that the engine has stopped working. I walked to the front of the plane and found that the pilot was well aware of it. So he goes to the pilot, Richard, and he informs him. And the pilot says, I know that. So it's better you just go and sit down on your seat. He asked me to go back to my seat and sit down. Now he means pilot. So he asked Richard to go and sit down on his seat. They had called the airport and the ambulances were there. So the arrangements had already been done by the pilot. The ambulances were already being called over there. I went back and told Mandela that. So he went back to Nelson Mandela and he told all the things that were done and told by pilot to Richard. He just listened and said yes. So Nelson Mandela said it's okay then. The plane landed without any trouble and then the plane landed where they had to reach Natal without any problem. Nelson remained calm throughout the trip, but then Richard observed that Nelson was not at all fearful. He remained calm throughout his trip. He never changed his expressions when we are fearing something. So what are our expressions? Our face become white, pale, and then our eyebrows are sometimes like this, and then we are very, very scary. We don't move from our place, we don't talk. So all these expressions were not shown by Mandela. He was simply sitting calmly and quietly. As he came out of the airport, he said, I was really scared up there. Now he reveals the fact, Nelson Mandela says, just as everyone, I was also scared in the aircraft. But did you notice that? So this is the real thing. Then I realized that this is what courage is all about. So Richard says, then I realized what actually courage is. So courage is what? Please underline. Courage is not about not being scared. ऐसा नहीं है कि हमें डरना नहीं चाहिए. It's good if we are scared of something. Only then we can think of any solution. Courage is not being scared. Not being scared. Courage is being terrified and not showing it. But then you are scared, but then you are not showing it. Your expressions are not coming on your face that you are being scared of something. So you are also fearing from inside, but then you are not revealing it in your face with your expression. So this is actual courage is. I got courage by looking at him because he was pretending not to be scared, and that's what he did his whole life. So he could do all these scary things like riding on the car, sliding from the big stone, and then making toys of then catching fishes, riding, swimming. All these things were very, very scary, but then he was actually scared while doing it, but then he had a courage, the actual courage. That means he was scared, but he did not allow to appear it on his face. And by looking at this, Richard says that I also got today the real courage by talking to Nelson Mandela, and I have really understood the correct meaning of courage. That is what made him so great, and that is why he has become so great, because of all these fearful activities that he has done. He has showed the courage to fight for apartheid. Actually, he was fearing inside, but then someone had to raise the voice to abolish that bad practice. So it was Nelson Mandela who became popular among the people by fighting against apartheid, and that is why he was fearful, but then since he fought for it, he did not show his fear. That is why he was really a courageous person. He did not reveal it. He was just pretending that he is not scared, although actually he also was. Nelson Mandela, please underline, won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. 1903. He died at his home in Johannesburg in December 2013. So this means he died recently, just 7 years back in 2013 in Johannesburg, and he has also achieved one Nobel Prize in the year 1993 for all his courageous works. So this was something about Nelson Mandela. I hope you have enjoyed this story, a small extract from his autobiography, and you will also try to be courageous in your life, and you will also try to make your friends courageous just like Nelson Mandela. And also please note down these word meanings in your reader notebooks, and once please read the chapter thoroughly, so that if any meaning, any word is not clear, you can either consult a dictionary or take the help of these word meanings, and also the glossary is given in your books. You can consult that, or even you can ask. So we will discuss the book exercises in our upcoming videos. That's all for tomorrow. Thanks for watching.